back on the show on Good Morning Sri Lanka, and if you missed the first segment, we are speaking today about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, especially among children. So that's ADHD for short, and we have with us two professionals in the field who will give us some advice on how you can recognize it as well as how you should deal with it once it has been recognized. So Professor, if we go on to the symptoms, the specific symptoms that are there for this disease or disorder, I should say. Let's talk about something like poor concentration. Now, this can be something that's symptomatic of just children anyway. If you take a cross-section of children from any classroom, you will find some who are inattentive. But poor concentration, how can you take this as a symptom of ADHD?
I think if you remember that video clip, which was very good, you could see the child could not sustain attention on any of the activities that the mother, and I think it was a teacher, who was trying to get the child to get involved in. And that's exactly what we mean by concentration. Now you have to compare it with, I mean, Dilhara did mention that, that you have to compare with the majority of normal children. Because at a given age, the children are able to sustain attention on a task. It may vary with age. Young children may not be able to do that, but the fact that children enter school at 5 years also should mean that they are able to sustain attention long enough to do some activity continuously for at least half an hour or so. But compared to the rest of the children in the classroom, these children stand out for not being able to do that. So you have to compare with what children are capable at a given age, and what the majority of children are able to do. And these children have a much shorter attention span, so they don't complete work, they move from one task to another. So therefore their learning is affected. Mind you, most of these children have a normal intelligence, intellectual ability, but their potential is not realized because they can't concentrate. So they don't complete work, they hate sitting down and doing something. So doing homework is a real punishment. So they try to escape from that, and because they don't complete work, and if the teacher doesn't understand what the problem with the child is more likely to be punished. So therefore those children do get affected in a variety of ways.
It snowballs into other problems.
That's right, exactly.
And if we take Dilhara, if we take something like being distracted, is there something where it's more prevalent among girls or boys? Is there a gender difference among the symptoms?
When it comes to inattentive symptoms, it's more prevalent among girls than boys. And like adding to what the professor said about the inattentive symptoms, even these kids, they might, if you're a parent or a teacher, you might find like this, some of the kids, they forget things very often, and they're very unorganized, just because of this inattentiveness that they have.
I see. So I mean, I've got a list of more symptoms right now on my hand. I'm just gonna say it out, and it talks about disorganization, restlessness, craving for stimulation, impulsiveness, poor short-term memory, dissatisfaction, and frustration. Care to comment on that?
Yes, I think say if you take what learning is, the first step in the learning is listening, that means paying attention. And then you understand, comprehend, process it and put it into your memory. So the first step in the learning process, learning sequence itself is disrupted in these children.
Of course.
So therefore, they may appear to be listening, or they may be miles away, although they appear to be listening. Next time you ask them what you have learned, they can't remember because that attention has not been there sustain on that. The other is, I mean, if you think, if there is a noise outside the classroom or some disturbance, majority of the children will get distracted, but they can come back to the task. But these children can't. Once they're distracted, it's distracted forever. So easy distractibility is one of the features that adds to this poor concentration problem. So therefore they have very disrupted learning. So there is nothing wrong with the memory as such. Only old people have a problem with memory. But here, because of the attentional problem, nothing has gone into the memory. So therefore they can't remember.
So if you are a parent who is watching the show right now and you do realize that your child has some of these symptoms, what is the next step? How do you proceed from there?
Exactly. I mean, as Amaya said, like when you look at these kids, sometimes you might just think that they're just spoiled. I mean, you may not really realize that they have a problem. It's like, this kid is not studying, this kid is just being hyperactive, he's, you know, doing all sorts of naughty things. But how does one, like as Amaya rightfully asked, how does one person actually find out that the person the kid has a problem?
Yeah, I think the first step is like identifying whether this is a problem, whether this is a problem. Like as we mentioned earlier, by comparing with the average kids of that age and of that gender. And then the other thing that they can do is finding professional help, like may go to a child psychiatrist or a counselor or a psychologist, preferably, and do an assessment and to get more professional help in that case.
If I may add to that, I think that's a very important point that was brought up. Well, I think the parents, often it is not recognized because it's mostly prevalent in boys. In fact, it's 10:1. The gender ratio.
So there's like, if you get 10 boys, there's just one girl.
Yes, that's
wow,
right.
we boys have it
There's a
hard.
lot of discrimination going on here.
Now, you may think boys are being boys, and they are naughty, right? They are sort of being playful or something like that. But I think it's important that if they are not learning, if they are being difficult in the classroom and the teacher is complaining, or they are sort of so hyperactive that they are hurting themselves. Mind you, these children are prone to injuries because they are hyperactive, and because of their impulsiveness and lack of concentration, they can't make themselves safe. If they get on to a height or something like that, they don't know how to get down safe. Or they might dash across the road, and most of these children, if they have bicycles, they'll go at the top speed, not realizing they may be riding down a road, a busy road, or going downhill. I mean, things like that. So they're very prone to injury. In fact, head injuries are common, and fractures are commoner in children with ADHD. So I think if that is happening, the parents need to think twice before they say this child is just being naughty or something.
And to add to the same point, Professor, you said that they can injure themselves, but at the same time, I mean, a teacher or a parent could misinterpret the kid, and the kid could be prone to punishment. I mean, is that fair?
Yes. I think ADHD children are prone to punishment because they can be disruptive in the classroom, so they get punished by the teacher.
Even among their peers, I'm sure bullying and things like that are common.
Yes, bullying, yes.
And Dilhara and Professor, I need to ask you this also, like when you I'm sure you come across a lot of these cases. Any experiences you can share with us in terms of certain experiences in this instance where kids have gone through, where they've been punished for their acts?
Yes, I think one of the things that I would like to say is that there are certain danger signs, like there are children who have come to us because they are at the point of being expelled from school, or they've been asked to leave or something like that because they're not learning, or asked to move to a special education or something like that, or they have been involved in sort of various conflicts, and therefore the other parents are complaining because they've hurt other children. They don't mean to. I think this is something that we need to emphasize. They really don't mean to do that, but they can't help it.
So what are the causes of this? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you go down to the causes, is it something to do with the environment or the food, or is it a physiological change? If both of you could just explain what can be the causes of this disorder.
Well, perhaps I'll start and Dilhara can continue. There are several causes, we know. It can be inherited. So there is a genetic thing. Now, so the parents, when they were children, would have been ADHD, would have had ADHD. The basic problem there at the level of the brain is there is a deficit of availability of certain brain chemicals. That's why we use medicines to replace those or provide those chemicals. Children who have had some kind of insult to the brain at the time of birth, they are more prone to be hyperactive and attention deficit. Children who have had head injuries, children who are premature. I think in your video clip you showed, they did mention children of mothers who have been smoking and drinking during pregnancy. So more lately people are thinking about environmental pollutants. One clear environmental pollutant that we know will cause hyperactivity and attention deficit is lead. But fortunately we have unleaded petrol now, so the pollution is less. I don't know, I think. Yes. So those are the things that will actually cause these problems. So if you want the causes.
Food. Now off the top of my head I'm thinking something like sugar may not be the best thing to give a hyperactive child. But is there anything that you can control through the food intake and the diet?
Yeah, what she's asking is, if you have diabetes, could you have ADHD? I'm just kidding.
But it shows there is some, there are some evidences where food additives and sugar plays a role. But anyway, it is not something very healthy for any kid. And also apart from that, there are some risk factors in the home environment. When you talk about home environment, if the parents have been very if the child has received insecure attachment during the first few years in life, there could be it could prone for ADHD, but not something which really causes ADHD. It is just a risk factor.
It is a risk factor. So again, that's something that you have to look out for.
Well, we've been talking a lot about ADHD, and of course we've got lots more to ask these two professionals seated right here on the topic. But don't go away, we'll be right back, and when we do, lots more on ADHDs. Don't go away. We'll be right back.